Where's the mom?
That is a gut-wrenching 911 call. Now, you saw her reaction inside the courtroom. Brings me to my first question in this case, in this investigation. What do the tears say about Carly Gregg? The tears inside the courtroom listening to that 911 call in the aftermath of the shootings. Let me bring in my expert, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and author and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Thank you. So, Dr. Carol Lieberman, a little more background here in what they say was going on in this 14-year-old's life. With that and seeing what happened inside the courtroom as she listens to the 911 call in the aftermath of the shootings, what do those tears tell you about Carly Gregg?
Well, you know, yes, I do think it is a dose of reality that, but I think in part it's because when she murdered her mother and shot at her father, it was a combination of psychiatric problems and drugs. And so it wasn't just, you know, I did this, you know, realizing how upset. I mean, her father sounded like a scene from The Exorcist. He was that upset, really gut-wrenching, really from incredibly, profoundly devastated. And so she was moved. I mean, what the tears also show is that she is not a cold-blooded psychopath. You know, she had empathy. But this case is just fascinating in terms of all of the layers, trying to tease apart. This is what it's going to come down to: tease apart the mental illness, the drug abuse, the psychiatric drugs that she was on or were stopped, or, you know, we don't nearly know the details yet. And so it's all of these things in combination. And plus, it's her fear, as she wrote in her journal, that her mother was going to realize or find out, I think she suspected, that she had the same mental illness that her family had, like her father had. And she was afraid if her mother found that out, that she wouldn't love her anymore, or, you know, or something horrible would happen. So it's really a complicated, and plus then there's the whole issue of not guilty by reason of insanity, or if she's using drugs, then they can't use it. I mean, it is a mess.
A mess and a lot of layers in this murder case for a teenager, with the victim being her own mother. Dr. Carol Lieberman, what's your take on this issue of inviting or telling your friend to come over moments after you've allegedly shot and killed your mother, and you're waiting to try to kill your stepfather?
Well, you know, originally that seemed like one of the examples of how hard-hearted she was, and cruel, and, you know, it was very bizarre, but it seemed to point more to a psychopathic person. And she does have some deceitfulness. Like, for example, she used her mother's phone, to call her father and pretend that it was her mother, to text her father and pretend that it was her mother, asking, when are you going to come home, and all that. So there are these other, you know, indications or issues. But, you know, I think the most important part of this case, in terms of take home, I mean, of course, Carly's life and what happens to her is important, but also what is so interesting is that people, especially teenagers, think that vaping marijuana is just an innocent, you know, cool thing to do that's not going to have any repercussions. And in fact, we know that especially if you have a genetic makeup, a genetic predisposition to psychosis, like schizophrenia or bipolar or something, that marijuana can bring out these psychotic features. So I think that she may have started taking the pot to as a self-medication kind of reason or plan, but I think that really, you know, perhaps without her even realizing or expecting that something like this could happen, that really, especially apparently she was taking a lot of it, that really, I think, brought out the psychosis.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, how about her friend? We have about 30 seconds here. Her friend who was there that day and witnessed all of this. What about her?
Well, she's obviously going to be traumatized too, as is the friend who testified, who was the one who told her mother. I think he's going to be feeling guilt for the rest of his life, thinking if I didn't tell her mother about, that she was using drugs and that she had this burner phone and so on, that this wouldn't have happened. So really, their lives have been changed for the worse too.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, incredible insight. Thank you so much.